Right then, people, we're back inside the building. How are we doing this morning? Welcome back to Breakfast with Kovu, and we are jumping into today's interview hour. Really excited to get into this one. It's a guest I've been looking forward to get on for a long period of time. Massive fan of the work they do. We do have, I believe, one half of the Heavytrackerz on the line. How are we doing? Oh, I think we're muted here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, of course I can. Of course I can.
There we go.
You panicked a little bit. I did it on purpose. I was like, let me just see what happens.
Oh, you had me worried there. You had me worried. How you doing, sir? You all good?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. It's Teddy, one half of the Heavytrackerz.
There we go. That's what we love to hear. Well, thanks for jumping on the line, man. I've been really looking forward to getting into this one. Hence why I was so worried when I suddenly saw you were muted. What we're going to do, we're going to kind of break down, obviously, a few different things. Obviously, you've been very much in album mode recently, and that dropped earlier this month, so we're going to get into that. Yeah. But I want to kind of talk to kind of kick off about the last sort of couple of years for you guys, because it seems like you've been on somewhat of a roll recently.
Yeah, I think recently we just had an epiphany, really, based on music and what people want, which seems to be visuals, and coupled that with what's going on in the world at the minute, it just made more sense to constantly hit them up with content.
Definitely, man. No, I think it's very, very apparent. Like when we look around and we see just how much sort of content you guys are getting out there at the moment, it is really, really exciting to see. And obviously, that's been backed up heavily by the release of this album. So, just to kind of get the sort of like overview of kind of how things happened. How long has the new album been in the works?
To be honest, we've started it. I would say about a year and a half to 2 years ago.
Wow.
With funny enough, with 500 Likes, the tune you just played, that was one, if not the very first tune that was meant to be part of the album. So yeah, just under 2 years.
So what was the thing that kind of made you decide to kind of push more for that album sort of scenario? Because obviously, as a production duo, I feel there'd be a lot of people kind of hollering you for instrumentals. There'd be a lot of people kind of working on their own projects. What was the thing that kind of pushed you towards going, no, we want a Heavytrackerz centric project?
So we've been, you know, we've always had that mindset from the early 2014 when we first came out and where we announced ourselves on the scene. It was never about the money for us. It's always been about we give you an instrumental, we do something for you, you do something for us. So we've always requested verses in return 9 out of 10 times. And we've always wanted to be an established house. We always wanted to emulate the American standard of what a producer is, which is actually put out albums and tour and DJ and do music. So we've never been just one to settle for being behind the boards.
Definitely. No, I can see that. And I think that's something that's represented really strongly with the kind of branding behind Heavytrackerz. And obviously there's so many recognizable things about what you guys do. Like how long do you spend kind of basically making sure that you are the recognizable factor within those tunes?
Oh, man. It's always been an uphill struggle, just trying to be that person. But we've always managed it, just based off people wanting to work with us as well and understanding that we are an entity of our own. I guess the imagery, the way we present ourselves, the way we market ourselves has always made people think, look, I don't mind these guys being a feature on the track rather than saying produced by the Heavytrackerz, because they bring something else. I mean, we write as well. We do some of our own hooks. We do some backing vocals. So we're more involved in the process than just, you know, pressing buttons.
Of course, and I think that is what kind of sets you guys apart from a lot of different, a lot of producers that are working in and around the scene today, because there is such a kind of extra element when you guys are involved, and it's something that's really apparent to see, especially when I'm kind of looking from the sidelines. I'm seeing every single time I see a Heavytrackerz tune, I know it's going to be an event, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we pride ourselves in that to the point of even video making. A lot of the stuff, the videos that you guys watch are written and planned out by myself, and, you know, given on to the director and a lot of the time, like, we're also behind the camera, looking for that perfect shot and figuring out how we want it to look. So it's a full process.
Definitely. And I mean, as I said before, it's very apparent to see, like that there is such a sort of high standard of quality coming out of what you guys create. Now, obviously, with the album, that being a sort of 2-year process, sort of 1.5, 2-year process, as you just said, from getting that first tune together to getting it out there, how much of that, based off what you've just said, how much of that was quality control and going, you know what, we're doing this one, it's not quite good enough to be on there?
Oh my gosh, a lot of it, because some didn't make it at all, and at the minute we're working on a deluxe version, and we're making new tracks. Also the order of singles, how we're going to put out the singles, which ones are going to be singles and which aren't. You have to look into that as well, and then with every release. What is the USP? What's the unique selling point? What are we going for? How do we want our Instagram to look like? What colors are we going for? So yeah, there's quality control all over, and I think as well, just accepting that it needs to be 10 tracks and nothing more has made it even harder.
Definitely. So why 10 tracks? Why 10 tracks? Just to interject.
So with our first album, Odyssey, which came out in 2017, I think it was a 16 or 17 track album, and we felt that I wouldn't even say it's a complaint, but one of the things that people want and people love, and I've heard that quote from Pharrell a few times, just make people dance, just give them music. We've tried to teach people on our first album about the industry and the ins and outs, and creating this idea. And with this one here, we just thought we're just gonna make them dance. We're not gonna overthink it. We're not gonna super duper plan it. We're just gonna make them enjoy the vibes.
Definitely. No, and I think having listened through the album as well, that's something that's very apparent to my ears when I listen through it. It feels like it's a very kind of direct album, It's not like dancing around the point. It feels like the overall track listing has been kind of put together with that idea of this being a project which is going to push people into those dance floor situations and push them into moving to it, It's not as much about being introspective. It's more about the sort of the energy and the atmosphere from it. That's the vibe I got.
That is partly so as well, and you're correct, because we are presenting ourselves as a radio station. That is the theme of the album. So what do radio stations do? We play music, we take you for a journey up and down. Let's go, boom, 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 boom. Switch up the tempo a little bit, and we. It's crazy. We educate via music, but we don't try to force ideologies down your throat, which we did on our first album, because it was very important to us to kind of let people know what our journey was in the music scene and what we've encountered, positive or negative. Hence why the first album was called Odyssey, A Musical Journey. And with this one, it's like, here you go, you guys just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's something that's really apparent, man. And I like that kind of, that almost transition from journey to almost being there, being at the party at this point, which is really kind of cool to hear. So just one more question before we jump into the first tune off the album. Why the radio station theme, and how much planning went into that specifically?
So there's a few funny stories behind it. I think one of the reasons was that we were on a radio station. I guess what you would call at the peak of German whip, and at the peak of us being in the scene and so on. We were on a radio station. We had a 2-hour show, which was then reduced to an hour, which was then reduced to 45 minutes, and they just wanted us to play music. Our show was predominantly music and interviews. We wanted to showcase new people within the scene. So we kind of kindly, respectfully disagreed. And we were a little bit peed off about it. So we were always like, look, if we had a radio show, this is what it would sound like, And also we had a retrospective look at Drake's playlist rather than album. He called it a playlist. And we were talking about the influence of Spotify, Apple Music, and all these streaming platforms, and how people don't necessarily make albums anymore and they make playlists. So, you know, coupled those two together, and we decided, look, this is our playlist. You know, put that on, go to the gym. This is our playlist. Like, do your bicep curls, go for a drive. This is our This is our playlist, really. For lack of a better word, we use the word album, but in reality, those are music that we listen to, and they're not predominantly grime. There's other stuff on it because that's what we listen to when we're at home.
Amazing, man. It's genuinely really interesting to hear that kind of take in it, and obviously hear how that's been influenced from different places as well. What we're going to do, we're going to jump into another tune next. Now, this one goes by the name of What You Do, and it features Capo Lee Frisco and Bossman Birdie. So, talk to me about this one and how it came together, because this is an all-star kind of lineup on this one.
Oh, yeah. No, this one's a very good tune. So, originally we had a Dizzy Rascal sample that we eventually realized that we couldn't really use without permission. So we changed the chorus a little bit and kept the What You Do part. Yeah. Because it was very important to the song itself. You know, the very first half of the chorus is a little bit greasy, a little bit mad, you know, and at the same time having these vets on the track, having these veterans on the track, it was important to feel like, at the same time, be aware, you know, to kind of let them know, yes, you can mash work, you can do all of these things, but be aware of what you do and the consequences that follow. Frisco literally jumped on it on the very last day. That's how crazy it is.
Oh, wow.
He did the verse on the same day and shot the video on the same day.
Amazing. Well, I mean, this is awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into this one. We're going to jump into it in just a second. It's just gone 16 minutes past 9 here on Trickstar Radio. One time, what is the best social media tag for people to get hold of you on?
At the Heavytrackerz on Instagram, or at Heavytrackerz on Twitter.
Perfect stuff. Right then, don't go anywhere, people. We're live on Breakfast with Kovu in conversation with Teddy from the Heavytrackerz. Keep it locked and don't go anywhere. We're in the building till 10. Oh, yes.
With CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.